In the early years of the 12th century, Europe was a land of uncertainty and fear. Pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land faced constant danger: bandits, hostile forces, and treacherous roads that swallowed thousands of lives. Amid this chaos, a small group of knights emerged, not seeking glory or wealth, but protection for the weak. These men would become known as the Knights Templar. Founded around 1119 by Hugues de Payens and 8 fellow knights, the Templars began as a humble brotherhood. Their mission was simple, yet extraordinary: to safeguard Christian travelers journeying to Jerusalem after the First Crusade. They vowed to live as warrior monks, combining the discipline of monastic life with the fierce skill of trained soldiers. The early Templars had no money, no power, and no influence. They lived in poverty, often relying on donations of food and clothing from local supporters. But their determination and the danger posed to pilgrims quickly drew attention. Within a few years, King Baldwin II of Jerusalem granted them headquarters within the Temple Mount itself, a place believed to be the site of Solomon's Temple. From this sacred location, their name, the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon, was born. Their reputation grew rapidly. Stories spread of fearless knights escorting caravans through deadly routes, defending travelers against overwhelming odds. And as word reached Europe, nobles and church leaders began offering lands, wealth, and recruits to the rising order. What began as a group of 9 men was transforming into one of the most powerful military organizations of the medieval world. But the Templars' rise was only the beginning. Their growing influence would soon reshape politics, warfare, religion, and even the future of Europe itself. Life within the Knights Templar was unlike anything seen in medieval Europe. Behind the shining armor and legendary battles was a strict code that shaped every moment of a Templar's existence. These warrior monks lived under rules that were far more rigid than those of ordinary knights, and even stricter than many monastic orders. Every Templar swore 3 core vows: poverty, chastity, and obedience. Poverty meant owning nothing, not land, not gold, not even the clothes they wore. Everything belonged to the order. A Templar who died left behind no inheritance. His possessions were simply redistributed to the brotherhood. Chastity required absolute purity. Marriage was forbidden. Romantic attachments were banned. Even speaking too softly with a woman could be considered a violation. The order believed emotional ties weakened focus and discipline, so the Templars devoted themselves fully to duty. Obedience was the heart of their structure. Every knight submitted entirely to the Grand Master and to the rule of the temple, a document of more than 600 laws governing behavior, dress, battle conduct, eating routines, prayer schedules, even how they slept. They rose before dawn, prayed several times a day, and ate simple meals in silence while scripture was read aloud. Their lifestyle emphasized unity. Templars were forbidden from eating better food than their brothers, from boasting, or from displaying personal wealth. They wore identical white mantles marked with the red cross, a symbol of purity and sacrifice. This uniformity created an army that moved and thought as one. But beneath the discipline lay purpose. The Templars believed they were not merely soldiers, they were instruments of divine protection. Every sacrifice, every restriction was a reminder that they fought not for themselves, but for something greater: faith, duty, and the defense of the innocent. This powerful identity would fuel their rapid rise, and later play a crucial role in their dramatic fall. As the Crusades intensified, the Knights Templar evolved from a small band of 9 men into one of the most influential institutions in medieval history. Their expansion was rapid, fueled by victory, reputation, and a growing belief that the order operated under divine protection. The turning point came with the endorsement of the Catholic Church. In 1129, at the Council of Troyes, the Templars were officially recognized as a religious military order. This approval granted them privileges no other group enjoyed: exemption from taxes, independence from local authority, and the ability to operate across borders without interference. They answered only to the Pope. These freedoms allowed the Templars to grow with unprecedented speed. Castles, fortifications, commanderies, and estates stretched from the Holy Land to Western Europe. Every new chapter house served as both a military base and a financial center, strengthening their influence on politics, warfare, and commerce. Donations poured in from nobles, kings, and common people alike. Some gave money or farmland, others donated entire villages in hopes of earning divine favor. Even monarchs trusted the Templars more than their own treasuries. Kings stored gold with the order, borrowed money for wars, and relied on the Templars to transport wealth across dangerous territories. Beyond their military achievements, the Templars became pioneers of early banking. They developed systems for safe deposits, coded letters of credit, and international transfers, allowing travelers to withdraw funds thousands of kilometers from where they were deposited. In many ways, the Templars laid the foundations of modern financial networks. Their success brought immense power, but also growing suspicion. Wealth, independence, and political influence in medieval Europe came with a dangerous price: enemies. As their empire reached its height, forces were already gathering that would ultimately lead to their downfall. Behind the walls of their fortresses, the daily life of a Knight Templar followed strict discipline, unwavering devotion, and a sense of purpose that defined their identity. Far from the romanticized image of armored warriors charging into battle, most of the Order's existence was shaped by structure, obedience, and routine. Every Templar took solemn vows of poverty, chastity, and absolute obedience. Their white mantles symbolized purity, while the red cross represented sacrifice. They were forbidden from indulging in luxury, personal wealth, or private possessions. Even their clothing and equipment were issued by the Order, ensuring every knight remained equal in appearance and status. Their day began before sunrise, with prayer and quiet reflection. Meals were simple, often vegetables, bread, and wine, and eaten in silence while scripture was read aloud. Recreation was rare, discipline was constant. Speaking without purpose, bragging, or expressing personal opinions was discouraged. Humility was considered a weapon just as important as the sword. When not in battle, the Templars trained relentlessly. Sword drills, horseback practice, formation tactics, and endurance exercises filled their days. Their reputation for unmatched discipline came not from natural talent, but from years of coordinated, repetitive training. Training that made them one of the most feared military forces of the Middle Ages. But their world extended far beyond combat. Many members were administrators, accountants, builders, farmers, or diplomats. They managed estates, oversaw construction projects, organized supply routes, and coordinated intelligence networks. The order functioned like a vast, multinational corporation, efficient, interconnected, and remarkably modern in structure. Life within the Templar community was a delicate balance of faith and warfare, silence and strategy, sacrifice and strength. It was this unwavering discipline that allowed the order to rise. And eventually, it was this same discipline that would place them in the crosshairs of powerful enemies. Their internal strength was undeniable, but the political world around them was beginning to shift. As the Templar Order expanded across Europe and the Holy Land, it built one of the most sophisticated logistical and intelligence networks of the medieval world. Their power did not come solely from the sword, but from their ability to move information, money, and supplies faster than any kingdom or empire of their time. At the heart of this system were the Templar commanderies, fortified estates scattered across France, England, Portugal, Spain, Italy, and beyond. Each commandery functioned like a regional headquarters, hosting knights, livestock, craftsmen, and administrators. They produced food, weapons, equipment, and revenue that supported the Order's military operations in the East. But their influence reached even further. The Templars developed an early form of international banking. Pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem could deposit their money in a Templar house in Europe and withdraw it safely once they reached the Holy Land. This simple idea, protecting wealth during dangerous travel, evolved into a sophisticated financial system. Landowners, nobles, and even kings borrowed money from the Templars, placing entire kingdoms in their debt. Their network also served as a channel for intelligence. Riders, merchants, and pilgrims carried messages between distant commanderies. Reports on political tensions, enemy movements, trade routes, and even rumors flowed constantly through the Order's communication web. Long before Europe developed national intelligence agencies, the Templars were already operating one. The combination of wealth, information, and mobility gave the Templars an advantage few could match. They could fund armies, build fortresses, support crusades, and influence diplomacy. Their neutrality, loyal only to the Pope, made them trusted intermediaries and feared power brokers. By the mid-13th century, the Order had become more than a military brotherhood. It was a financial powerhouse, a diplomatic bridge, and a logistical empire that connected the Christian world. Behind their iconic white mantles lay an organization whose reach extended into every corner of medieval society. But as their influence grew, so did suspicion and resentment. Their success was beginning to attract dangerous attention. By the late 13th century, the Knights Templar had become a dominant force in European politics, finance, and military affairs. Their neutrality, owing allegiance only to the Pope, made them independent from the authority of kings and emperors. And in a world ruled by monarchs hungry for control, independence was a dangerous privilege. Many rulers found themselves financially entangled with the Order. The Templars were not merely soldiers. They were lenders, bankers, and protectors of wealth. Kings deposited treasure in Templar vaults, borrowed vast sums to fund wars, and relied on the order's financial expertise to stabilize their kingdoms. But dependency soon turned into resentment. Among the most indebted monarchs was King Philip IV of France. His wars had drained the royal treasury, leaving him desperate for funds. Philip viewed the Templars' enormous wealth with envy and suspicion. How could an independent military order hold more power than the crown itself? How could they move money, influence nobles, and command armies without royal permission? Rumors began to spread among European courts. Some accused the Templars of hoarding secrets. Others whispered that their initiation rites were mysterious, even heretical. In the shadows of cathedrals and palaces, jealousy twisted into paranoia. The order's influence also clashed with emerging political ambitions. Rulers sought centralized authority, while the Templars operated as a transnational power. Their fortress network, private armies, and financial autonomy looked increasingly like a threat to royal sovereignty. The growing tensions were not limited to France. In England, Spain, and parts of Italy, nobles began questioning whether the order was growing too powerful. The Templars insisted on their loyalty to Christendom, but fear often outweighs reason. By the dawn of the 14th century, Europe was changing. Kings wanted control, the church struggled to maintain authority, and the Templars, once celebrated as holy warriors, found themselves standing at the center of a storm of suspicion, debt, and political rivalry. The stage was set for a conflict that would shake the medieval world. On the morning of Friday, October 13th, 1307, an event unfolded that would forever seal the fate of the Knights Templar. Acting on secret orders from King Philip IV, royal soldiers across France moved simultaneously to arrest every Templar they could find. It was one of the earliest and most coordinated mass arrests in medieval history. For the Templars, the attack came without warning. At dawn, soldiers surrounded commanderies, stormed into chapels, and seized knights as they prayed. Doors were broken, archives were confiscated, and the once powerful order found itself paralyzed in a single devastating blow. King Philip claimed the arrests were based on shocking accusations: heresy, blasphemy, occult rituals, and immoral conduct. The charges were extreme and convenient. They offered a legal excuse to dismantle the order and seize its wealth. But to many observers, it was clear that the motivations were political and financial, not spiritual. Under pressure from the crown, confessions were extracted through brutal interrogations. Some knights, unable to bear the torture, admitted to crimes they did not commit. Others refused, standing firm in silence or proclaiming their innocence until their final breath. Meanwhile, Pope Clement V struggled between supporting the Templars and appeasing the French king. His indecision allowed Philip's campaign to continue unchecked. Across Europe, shockwaves spread. Some kingdoms refused to arrest their Templars, believing the accusations to be fabrications. Others feared conflict with France and reluctantly followed the king's orders. The unity the order once enjoyed was shattering. The night of betrayal marked the beginning of the end. What had started as secret political maneuvering had become a coordinated assault on one of Christendom's most respected orders. For the Templars, the world they had built over 2 centuries was collapsing. and there was no turning back. Though the Knights Templar disappeared from the political world centuries ago, their legacy has never faded. Their influence survives in architecture, historical documents, and the development of early banking systems. Many of their fortresses still stand today, silent reminders of a once powerful brotherhood that shaped medieval Europe. Legends about hidden treasures, secret rituals, and lost knowledge continue to inspire books, films, and theories. For some, the Templars remain heroic defenders of faith. For others, they represent mystery, secrecy, and unanswered questions. Whether regarded as saints or conspirators, one fact remains: the Knights Templar changed the course of history. Their rise, power, and tragic fall still echo across time, inviting us to explore the truth behind the legend. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you would like to see more videos like this, feel free to let us know in the comments. Your support means a lot. Subscribing to the channel helps us stay motivated and create more content for you. See you in the next documentary.